Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I would like to call the 2024-2025 academic school year retreat to order for the Nash County Public Schools Board of Education. At this time, I will turn it over to Superintendent Ellis and his cabinet.
So good afternoon, board.
Good afternoon.
So what we're going to do today is basically go over an overview of this year with our district plan and give you some where we are, some highlights, and then probably go a little bit into the demerger and where we are now. So Tremaine, if you'll start those slides, what I'll do is go over these priorities, and when we go over the slides, you'll see that certain members of the cabinet will be handling the slides, and we'll go from there. I will say that there will be some slides that there will be no answers to because the state has not, I guess I would call it, give us their stamp of approval for some of these scores and things, but they will be coming. I'll wait for someone. Oh, saw some doors move. Slide. Okay. So number one is going to be increased grade level proficiency across all grade subjects by 5%. Priority 2 is going to talk about the increased number of schools that exceed growth. Priority 3 is ensure equitable outcomes for all subgroups. Next slide is going to go into 4, which is equitable staff, build capacity across all schools. Priority 5 is efficient and effective operations across district departments. And I believe that will be our district plan. So right now, I believe it'll be priority 1. That'll be Ms. Melissa Dancy-Smith.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So priority 1 is increased grade level proficiency across all grades and subjects by 5%. I do want to remind you that right now, all testing data is embargoed until it is officially validated by the State Board of Education. And business rules have not been applied. So all data can only be used right now for instructional planning and professional development. And it cannot be shared outside of the school environments. Just a recap of how performance grades are calculated. 80% of our school performance grade, which is SPG, comes from performance, which is proficiency. For elementary and middle, that data includes EOGs, middle school math, which is math 1, EOCs, and EL progress. For secondary schools, it includes EOCs, the ACTs, work keys, math course rigor, and cohort graduation rate data. And 20% of the data comes from growth. And growth is calculated through SAS, and we will receive that data mid to late August. If you would click on that link for me, please, Tremaine. So what these charts show are our EOG and EOC data, and the green indicates increases. So if you look at grade 3, the proficiency is 35.57. Just remember that in 3rd grade, we have read to achieve. So that is our final grade. And although we may have more students proficient in reading, the 35.57 indicates the number of students who actually passed the EOG. But in 3rd grade, students have several ways to demonstrate reading proficiency. If you would scroll down, you see in math for 3rd grade, we're almost at 50%. If you would go to the 4th grade tab, start with the reading, we're at 44.61. And in math, we're at 50.9%. And if you would just spend some time looking at that, you will see that across the board, with the exception of science, we have made significant increases in the EOGs as well as our EOCs. And if you click on the EOC tab, you'll see something very similar, which is lots and lots of proficiency improvement across the board. If you would go back to the presentation. Those of us in this work understand that in order for data to show up in grades 3, 4, and 5, students have to have strong foundational skills in grades 3. So in grades K3. So I do want to share the K3 data. Next slide. So highlights. Our kindergarten students ended the year 80% proficient. First grade, 71% proficient. Second grade, 68% proficient. And third grade, 58% proficient. If you look at last year's data, specifically third grade, you will see an increase of 1 percentage point. But for third grade, that is still no small feat, because you will see later in our highlights that in K3 literacy across the board, we exceeded the state's end-of-year benchmark.
If I may.
Sure.
We're comparing the beginning of the year to the end of the year?
No, this is actually the end-of-year benchmark.
22, 23 last year to 23, 24 this year.
But the beginning of the year, 22, 23, not the end of the year.
It should be the end of year for
I was just-
22, 23, as well as end of year for 23, 24.
Okay, I just was trying to clarify, because that's what it says.
Are there any additional questions?
So you're gonna highlight that 1% is significant, we'll see that, I think it's great.
Yes, I want to save that for the highlight.
Okay.
It's a very, very
I like the
special
colors.
highlight.
Thank you.
I'm getting ahead of myself, but I want to save that for the highlight. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. White to come forward, and he will also share with you data for third grade up to high school.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So, it's really a great pleasure to be able to stand here and talk about these results, because you see a significant growth from 22-23 to 23-24. And remember, 22-23 was a great year we celebrated and got us out of low performing. And so for us to continue that growth is it doesn't happen by happenstance. It's a lot of hard work. It's intentional and focused, and that's what you see. The proficiency increased 16 of 18 tested subject areas. So let me talk about that just a moment. There are 18 goals that are measured, and out of the 18 goals, 16 of those we increased proficiency. So major work on our teachers' part and what they're doing. And look at fourth grade, for example, math, going from 37 to 50%. That's amazing. And like I said, that's not luck, that's hard work. Next slide. Here, 6th, 7th grade, you see increases as well, at least at 5 percentage points or more. For example, look at Math 1, from 32 to 43. And let me say something about Math 1. For 8th grade Math 1, those students that take Math 1 in 8th grade, we were above the state average in every goal. For every school, for each middle school, we were above the state average in every goal that's measured for Math 1. So just great increases. Again, also, we have goal summary reports that came out for our high schools, only for high schools for right now. And everything was measured, all but 3, I think it was 19 measurable goals, all but 3, we increased our proficiency, or our growth. So just, again, hard work, and this is a result of it. Because we celebrated 22-23, we really have something to celebrate for 23-24 in these schools. So very proud of our team and our teachers and what they did with our students. Any questions? Thank you. Oh, I got back up. The next slide, excuse me. So FAFSA, let's talk about that for a moment. Our goal was to increase by 5%. So don't look at Nash County yet. The first bullet is our senior enrollment. We were down 4%. We only had 955 seniors, which means that we have less students that can actually complete the application. We did have a total of 477. And between the 2 different parent nights, we have 5 different opportunities for parents to come out and receive assistance. And you see nationwide and the state of North Carolina had a 10-point drop, and we had a 7-point drop. And a lot had to do with the FAFSA itself. They had some issues when it first rolled out, something that we couldn't control. I did look at our surrounding counties. I looked at Franklin, Edgecombe, and Wilson counties, and they were anywhere from 10 to 14 points below what they were the year before. So I do believe that our efforts did curb some of what we could have dropped below the 10% like North Carolina did. So I think our efforts did show. Unfortunately, it's still not where we want to be, but some things were out of our control with the way FAFSA was rolled out this year. Any questions on that?
Just remember FAFSA is the new process they've started. It's brand new, and I'll say it, I can officially say it tanked. So I think our efforts were tough this year because every other district's having the same problem. I'm kind of, shouldn't say glad, but I can't believe it was only 7.7. I thought it would be a whole lot more.
Thank you.
Dean, do you have a question? I'm sorry. Jeff.
It's probably for later, but I was going to say, how were our efforts on scholarships?
Gotcha.
With scholarships?
Across the board?
What do you mean our efforts?
Like getting folks the information to scholarships, how our scholarships look per school. Usually,
I don't
a lot of times we
know
have
the
that.
data. I don't have that data in front of me, but I know that that we did really well this year with getting information out and our total amounts. I don't know officially our
I
total
guess we
amount.
can get the counselors to give you a per, I think the counselors have
We rolled in
some
all that.
sort
We rolled all that
council.
graduation.
The graduation,
Yeah, we
yeah.
talked
I
through
don't know.
We can get you a count.
Yeah,
We did really well.
And yeah, see how good that was when you look at that.
It's a good idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So we are equally proud of career and technical education this year. As you can see, just as we've done with our EOGs and EOCs, we have increased in all areas that we're going to present today. Our state assessment, if you can look, we put a 3-year trend up, and you can see we've gone in the last 3 years from 61.5 to 74.31% proficient. And if you look at the second row, that's actually benchmarks that's determined by the state where we should be. So we are above our benchmark as of this past year. So we're excited about that. Also with credentialing, you can see in the 3-year trend that we have increased tremendously in our percentage of students that earn credentials. This year we had a potential of 9,000 credentials to be earned. So that puts us at close to 5,000 earned, 4,000 and something with the 43%. So we are excited about that as well. And then lastly, if you remember, this past year we reported that we would try to, our goal was to be projected 100 plus internships for work-based learning, and we succeeded. We're at 215 work-based learning opportunities. This includes internships, pre-apprenticeships, job shadowing, and advanced studies that we have done with our business in the industry. And we're continuing for this next year to make that even larger. So we're excited about that. Questions?
Yeah, talk about, one of the things I'm hearing about is the journalism program. I think you guys are doing through that with business and so forth. I've had, my neighbor was talking about that thing. He said, what are you guys doing regarding journalism and a pathway for our kids from, and I think you're doing that with the City High group over at Northern and some other things you're doing. Can you talk about the journalism program with your businesses and how that's collaborating with, and helping our kids start careers right after high school?
So to start careers right after high school, that is, number one, this is one of the big ways
Right.
is through our work-based learning opportunities. Because students immediately, I can give you an example, there's many of our businesses who are taking them in as internships and they're hiring them immediately as soon as they're finished. And we've done that on many occasions. We're documenting that, we have that in our data. Not only that, but our businesses will a lot of times hire those students and then pay for them to go back to college if they want them to move forward in a career within that business and organization. So, yep.
So, another question. I know at Northern, we were looking at, and I know Dr. Farrell in your group, and Mike Tyne in your Dr. Farrell's group, that's a public safety and law and justice one.
Yes.
That was on at Northern, and we're talking about expanding upon that to sections 2, development 2 for public safety and justice 2 at Northern. Are we still looking at that?
Yes, we are. We're constantly looking at our emergency services, and so including that is law and justice. We have firefighter, and we also have emergency management at Southern Nash. So we have a variety of where students can get involved if they're involved, want to move in those careers. Yep.
How's the participation with that?
It's full, but we will just continue to build off of that. Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I've got a couple of information points that I can share with you, and then a handful of things that we just don't have the information on, so we'll just kind of fill you in. So first, exiting, one of the goals in priority 2 is to exit low performing status. And so if you remember, as other people have mentioned previously, we did that last year. That is calculated by the state by having more than 50% of your schools deemed as a low performing school. So that's a school performance grade of a D or an F and or does not meet growth. And so we don't have the growth information this year, so we're unable to calculate where we are this year moving forward at this point. As Ms. Dancy Smith said earlier, once that information is released, typically to us at the end of the month and then approved at the state board meeting in September, we'll be able to provide an update and share that. Increase the number of schools that exceeded growth again. We don't have the growth information. Last year, that number was 10 out of the 24 schools in the district that received an exceeding growth rating. And when we get that information, we'll be able to share it, but we don't have that at the moment. And then finally there, increase the number of schools that receive a school performance grade of a C or higher. Ms. Dancy Smith again went over that formula earlier. The 80% comes from proficiency and the 20% comes from growth. And so while we have some proficiency information, we don't have the growth to calculate that last 20%. We do have, so last year we had 9 schools receive a grade of a C or higher. Currently we're at about 8 schools whose proficiency numbers are high enough to make them a C without any growth information. And so we already have 8 schools that will be at that, and then another 8 to 10 schools that have a fair shot, depending on what their growth score is, of putting them over the C threshold as well. But again, we can't finalize that information until we get the growth scores. Queen. And then moving into priority 3, that was about ensuring equitable outcomes for all subgroups. And again, the information is not 100% finalized, but we did on the preliminary information before business rules were applied, have increases in every single subgroup that is measured from 2022 to 2024, or 2022, 23 to 23, 24. So we highlighted a handful of the subgroups who had the largest increases from 23 to 24. You can see across the board, like I said, every single subgroup had improvements, which is just kind of a theme of all the data from the previous year. So, and then the growth information for each subgroup is not available again until at the end of the month and into September. Any questions on the information about growth? Awesome. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Priority 2, increase the number of schools that exceed growth. In this particular slide, part of our action steps in doing so was to decrease dropout rates and to improve attendance. Of course, with our dropout rates, you'll see as we get to the next slide, but just to talk a little bit about the goal that we had here, we looked at how we impact student achievement by cultivating an environment where students are connected to the learning process as evidenced by increased student participation. And for improved attendance, it was impact student achievement by providing equitable access to curriculum, instruction, and the educational environment with specialized supports as evidenced by increasing student attendance rates. Next slide, please. Thank you. So here is our attendance rate slide. As you can see, I have in red for the 23-24 school year. This is unofficial data that Mr. Whitley, pulled for us and calculated. That data will not be official data until somewhere between September and November. As you can look from the 22-23 school year, we are slightly down from where we were. We are hoping that once the data is official, that hopefully we'll be up another % or 2. But this is, as you can see from the 21-22 school year, normally we're somewhere right around that 90% in terms of student attendance rate. When we looked at national data back in January, which was the last time that I saw any data points, nationally attendance rates were about 93%. So we are shy of what the national rate is. I was not able to find any state data at this point on attendance rate, but I will say that the state likes for you to be around 95% in terms of your attendance rate. Here again with our dropout rate, that information does not come. We start looking at that at the beginning of the school year. We work through those first 20 days of school because any student who left school during the academic year of 22-23, and we're able to get those students back in before the first 20 days of school, then those students do not count against us. So once those first 20 days of school is over, that's when the state starts finalizing your dropout numbers. Here's our suspension rates. This past school year, what we decided to do was we really wanted to focus on out-of-school suspensions and the loss of instructional days. So here you see a chart over to the side, and that chart exhibits the instructional days lost to out-of-school suspension for 21-22, 22-23, and the 23-24 school year. So we didn't decrease the loss of instructional days due to OSS by 5% as we wanted for the 23-24 school year. However, we did have a 0.04% decrease in the instructional days. And as you can see, when you look at 22-23, there were 20,658 instructional days lost. When you look at 23-24, that was 20,648, and I should have brought my glasses. look a little blurry there, but I think I can see. So you can see there were 10 days where we decreased from the 22-23 to the 23-24 school year. Now here's the thing that is perplexing, but it's not when you start to dig into the data. We increased in our overall number of incidents that led to OSS by almost 300. But our days decreased by 10. And so some of that is due to we were really digging into our discipline matrix. We really feel like this past school year that principals really applied the matrix for the most part as it was laid out for them. And in doing so, that means that you're going to have out-of-school suspension showing up that may have not shown up in the past because they may have been using them in, I forget what the thing is called in Educator's Handbook, minor offenses versus putting it into our major offenses. And so we really pushed for principals to make sure that they were following the matrix as we had it laid out so that at the end of the year, we had a good look at our data. So we felt like that principals were really true to that. So that is one reason we believe that there's an increase in the number of out-of-school suspensions. But we also believe that because they were using that matrix to fidelity, that's why we were able to increase by 300, but not increase the number of out-of-school suspension days. So we have a start. We're not where we want to be. We really want to continue to dig into that so that we can get down to that 5% that we're striving for this past school year.
And this is district-wide, right?
Yes, sir. This is district-wide. Yes, sir.
Bottom line, were our schools safe?
Yes, sir. I believe we were. This is not new to you all. After the pandemic, there were an increase in discipline referrals. There were an increase in students participating and fighting and volatile acts. And that didn't just happen in Nash County. That was happening all across the state and all across the country. As we've had an opportunity to have kids back in school, trying to normalize their learning experience, we see that things are now tapering off, and we expect to see that things will continue to be better, and that those incidents of fighting and some of the physical disruptions that are taking place will continue to decrease.
I just don't want to see our interest decreasing the number of out-of-school suspensions leading to unsafe schools.
Absolutely. And so our conversation with principals always is that, there's some things that children just have to go home for. And those are not the things that we want principals to not apply the rule to, but we want to make sure that we're applying discipline consequences fairly and consistently throughout the school district. Yes, sir.
No, go ahead.
You touched on this a little bit, but with the work that was put into the matrix, do you feel like we're more consistent across the district? I mean, the same thing at Southern is the same at Northern as in our Central?
Absolutely. And it's been 3-4 years of work and mindset changing and engaging people in conversations about the why and why it's important. But we believe that at this point, we're starting to see a pay in the dividends of the work that we've put forth. And we expect that during the 24-25 school year that we will see even a better decrease in terms of the number of lost instructional days. Because for us, that's what's important. We want kids in the classroom so that they're learning. They can't learn when they're not there. But we also want to make sure that we are attending to discipline behaviors as necessary. Yes, sir.
Dr. Farrell, is it true that you're having other schools in other counties try to emulate some of the stuff that you guys are doing here in Nash County?
Yes, sir. We've shared our discipline matrix with several school districts. We've had conversations with individuals. They've reached out to people with our student support services team. We've had conversations. We presented at conferences. So a lot of people are trying to do the work around the discipline matrix. It's one of the key pieces to gaining points as it relates to the school safety grant. So there are a lot of districts who are trying to make sure that they have that in place.
The reason I asked that question, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The reason I asked that question, I've had a lot of my colleagues across the state talking about how well you guys are performing in various areas. And they wanted to reach out to sort of talk to someone, and I want to make sure that they were talking to the right people.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I would like to just say I'm excited about hearing this report because you're right, we cannot teach our kids if they're out of school. And it's good to see that we're on a path where we apply the discipline matrix equitably, hard word,
That's
yeah.
a hard word.
But it's we're treating the kids based on the offense, and that makes me happy.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, there's just one note I would like to add, and piggybacking on what Mr. Sharp said, not only are the school districts, I'm in conversation with other local businesses and organizations that are complimenting what you're doing in the discipline, even including some churches have mentioned what's happening here?
Well, I can tell you, we have a strong team in the Student Support Services Department. They work really hard, and so I am thankful to have them on our team, and they have a lot of expertise. They're able to reach out to different state and local organizations to help make an impact in what we're trying to do here in Nash County Public Schools. So we have a strong team, and most of them are sitting there in the back. So I'm thankful for them.
Me too.
Here, here.
That's good.
Next slide, please. So our long-term suspension data, we were excited about. As you can see, if you're looking at 21-22, 22-23, and then 23-24, we have gone from 22 long-term suspensions down to 10. That's a 37.5% decrease in long-term suspensions. And again, as Dr. Mudd said, that is not something that Mr. White said, that is not something that just happens. That is through hard work and making strategic decisions to try to support students who are in crisis.
Dr. Perry, real quick,
Yes, sir.
I know you're looking at 2 or 3 year trend. Did you go back further? Can you remember when we've been this low?
So I want to say during the 2018, 19 or 17, 18 school year was really when we were starting to see a decrease, and then COVID happened. So we were right on the verge of seeing some consistent practices in place, and then COVID happened. So this is our district ODR data for the 23-24 school year and 21-22, 22-23. And we're excited because, as you can see, we were at 17,963 ODRs, 21-22. 22-23, we're at 23,270. And for this school year, we were at 19,998. So that, again, is a 14.1% decrease in ODRs for the school year. So again, we're on the right path. There's some work that we still need to do as it relates to out-of-school suspensions, but we feel like we have some structures and processes in place that, again, it will continue to make things better for the upcoming school year.
ODR?
Oh, that's your Office of Discipline and Referrals.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
If I could just make a comment, please, Dr. Farrell. I also, you didn't highlight, but I'm going to toot your horn for you. I believe that some of the special programming that you have in place, such as the Village and the mental health supports, attribute to the decrease in the number of referrals. So just keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So I will share some updates from Priority 4. It focuses on the equitably staffed and building capacity across all schools. And some highlights for us, teacher supplements, thanks to our county commissioners, did increase by 1%. And we processed 354 new hires, full-time, part-time, certified, classified, and they also received a recruitment bonus last year, and it was prorated based on the hire date. So I'm going to talk through this slide a little. We have 11 low-performing schools. I think all except 2 of those schools were Title I schools. And our goal in HR was to ensure that we staffed these schools with highly qualified teachers to go in and teach our most vulnerable babies. With that being said, you have a list there that outlines the allotted certified teachers that each school was allotted based on the state formulas at the beginning of the school year. And we also have the numbers that they started the school year with. So using Baskerville as an example, they were allotted 19.2 teachers. And at the beginning of the school year, they started the school year with 19.2 teachers. And at the end of the school year, they ended it with 18.2 teachers. Now, due to the demerger, we did lose some staff with a lot of the unknowns surrounding the demerger. And when that happened, because we needed to offset some of these positions and fill them with the remaining staff that wanted to remain in Nash, we made sure that we worked closely with Kelly Services to get as many certified teachers as we could in those vacant roles.
So I'll stand here and I will go over priority 5, which is efficient and effective operations across district operations. So questions were, did we process our year-end duties timely and accurately? Yes, we did. All tasks were completely timely and with as much accuracy as possible. So did we submit our year-end data to DPI with error-free? Yes, we did indeed. Everything was submitted on time without error. Revert no state funding. No usable state funding was reverted. All right, so now updates since the audit by the school operations specialist. One of their recommendations was for us to update the P-card processes and procedures. I'm happy to say we've reduced the number of P-cards that we hold. We've updated the P-card spending limits. All P-card transactions are now reconciled monthly, and the P-card program guidelines have been updated. And once the guidelines are approved, the district will be hosting a training session for all P-card holders that they will have to go through in order to continue to use the card. They also, the school operations specialist also pointed out travel and professional development. They wanted to ensure that all the employees had the knowledge they needed to do this process correctly, as well as ensure that we were choosing our PD correctly. The district held professional leave PD. There's been a creation of a PD approval form to ensure that we know why the employees are going where they're going and what they'll be doing. And this form is here if you could pull that up tonight. So this is the PD participation proposal. So I guess the employees will have to fill this out in order to attend a professional development. And this will be showing why they need to attend this. What is this going to benefit the district? You had a question?
Yes, ma'am. On the reduction of P cards, when you reduce them, the money's got to go somewhere. So where did the money go that was on those P cards?
So we keep it in it doesn't go to a P card. We can have some held to the side. The word is leaving me right now, but we have some in case another card, someone is out and they need their balance increased. That money is in the holding where we can increase that card. The total credit limit doesn't have to go to cards. So it's just in holding. Our credit limit remains the same, but we don't have to put the additional funding on the cards.
So it just went into a holding pattern. It didn't go to other people.
No, it doesn't go to other people.
Question is,
Yes, sir.
could you go back to that approval form, please? So how high up on the hierarchy does that form has to be approved?
That's a really good question.
Scroll down. Melissa, if you want to explain, I know this is kind of the federal form of this Wallace. I think you keep going down, you'll see the.
Okay. Supervisor has to approve.
So they're in supervisor. Do you have any suggestion? All right, so if you go back, also with the professional development and travel, we will be hosting additional training for all staff. They will have to go through a training that we'll post on the Vector platform, so that it'll be mandatory for them to do it. If they want to take professional development, then they will have had their training through the Vector portal.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm excited to share with you some highlights from school nutrition. One of our goals was to increase breakfast and lunch participation. So you'll see a listing here of the amount for breakfast and lunch in 22-23, and then in 23-24. And at the bottom, I show you the increased difference. Some of the small things I can share with you about that. We've had a variety of menu. We have a menu planning committee of quite a significant large group in the district, and that has helped with that. We've done surveys and quite a few taste testings from the students. So we take that feedback and then we bring it back. It does take a significant amount of time to make a lot of changes because we have to meet all the federal guidelines. So I'm very excited to share this along with the next slide. So one of our goals for some time in our district was to focus on the community eligibility provision, which is our CEP. So you've heard me talk year after year about a certain number of schools that are CEP, and that means they are going to eat at no charge. The students at those schools eat at no charge. There's a formula that has to be submitted and sent in to the state for approval. So we've been holding on to some of this information because we wanted to make sure that we did all the calculations right. And I want to tell you a little bit about why it looks different. This year, for the first year ever in Nash County, we are 100% CEP. So that is a huge celebration for a lot of reasons. So the schools are going to operate under this CEP for the 2024 school year. We've already updated that on our website. If you go to school nutrition, it'll tell the parents what to do. We do still sell a la carte items. So if a student goes through the line and they want to get cookies or something that's not on their regular meal, they do have to pay for that. That is not a free charge, but our approved meals are a free, at no charge. We're not supposed to use the word free. At no charge.
Yeah.
So eligibility into CEP, it goes back to your direct certification. So students who are direct certified are eligible for the free meals, and that automatically is due to participation in food stamps, Medicare, or other federal programs. So after COVID, we started getting more of the inclusion of the federal Medicaid for the DC systems. So all of that was updated. So that's why the formulas changed. We also plugged them in together with five schools. So one school, you put them with 4 other schools and you make that balance be at a certain percentage, which that percentage is what enabled us to be able to meet CEP. So the teachers still will have to pay. This is for students only, but the a la carte items will be charged. There'll be no applications anymore. There'll be no outstanding fees at the end of the school year to be collected, and the board had to pay. We have seen some direct line with discipline. So the students are going to get their breakfast and their lunch at no charge. A major increase in these schools that we have seen over the years with CP. It does directly tie to discipline and attendance. So we are very excited to say that we're going to be 100% in CP next school year. Any questions for me?
Thank you.
Wow. That's good stuff.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. At this time, I would like to call for Ms. Heather Louise Finch and Carolyn Johnson. They will be presenting and highlighting accomplishments and celebrations and highlights of the CPE department.
Good afternoon. So we're excited to share how we've met and exceeded goals that were set forth for the communications department. The annual survey that would have been conducted is from the teacher working condition surveys. We've increased communication among schools, established the new website and a mass communication system, and we launched the new brand July 1. And we've set up a new way to educate principals on marketing. We have also consolidated our social media and improved our communication rates.
I'm going to go over some of the strategic achievements. We've improved communication. This has increased transparency and dialogue between administrators and district staff. We conducted monthly trainings, 100+ school visits. We provided at these school visits training, we've attended events, provided photography, and we've also done a lot of virtual training. We've partnered with Apogee and done multiple virtual sessions. Parental support, Connect, Inform, Engage. We've hosted 5 Connect, Inform, Engage events that received the highest turnout in person and highly engaged virtually. And also we've done the Nash County Public Schools Connect Drive, and this was 10 events that engage with guardians, just assisting in the rooms, and the Access to Parent Portal. And then as far as social media consolidation, some of the highlights are we've streamlined the communication channels. We've established best practices for administrators and webmasters when it comes to social media and their planning processes. And then calendars and tracking. We've established social media planning calendars, media calendar, and then event tracking systems. And then as far as planning, we've mapped out holidays, celebrations, and school events that are upcoming. And then some of the key outcomes is we've enhanced district support, improved media coverage and stakeholder engagement. And then as far as the website and branding, with the new website, we've done multiple staff training, which is virtual and in person. And then just consolidated the website to make it more user-friendly. And then also the new logo, which launched July 1st, we've rebranded that across all digital platforms. And then as far as principal meetings, which is weekly and monthly, just doing updates on marketing and communication and sharing best practices.
I have a question. I'll wait till you finish.
And with that NCPS Connect Drive, what we found with launching a new communication system, we launched a landing page where parents or guardians can reach out to get support. So we've helped over 500 families via the phone, just alone, not including the events that have been in person. We've increased the media coverage. I think it's about 60 to 70%. We worked with a vendor rather to get that number of where it was to find positive news on the Google reviews. We have multiple publications featuring multiple stories on a weekly basis. We have gained statewide attention for showcasing our student mental health, technology, our crisis management plans. We've become a beacon of an example for how to handle crisis management and to help students out and staff during those times. Kudos to Dr. Fair there. We've also launched the new logo, as well as Ms. Johnson mentioned. And the first ever, we established a Nash County Public Schools style and communication guide, which adheres to board policy and state policy as well. And we make sure that all faculty who are posting on social media or the website are in compliance with that, and that's important. And we've also worked on executing the plan for the demerger. We built out the timeline, what was submitted to DPI, wrote the planning stages for that, and worked very closely with Mr. Ward and Dr. Ellis in Edgecombe County. Worked with ORAD during spring break to create the reassignment presentation and plan that was presented. And we had 2 events of those back in April. And we also, one of the most exciting things is we have to put the money where the mouth is. We spend money on these communication tools. And so one of the things that we're most excited about that we'll be able to start showing next year is we've created baseline data to show that guardian engagement from down to the teacher and to the school level of how that enhances the academic performance. So we were able to see that 8 schools that were in the top 10 of Rooms engagement, which Rooms is the app they use or online, from the announcement and messages. Those 8 of those top 10 schools also were the highest for scoring this past year for state testing. So we were very excited about that, and we'll be working with Dr. Mudd in the near future on being able to track that correlation. We have 8,012 parents out of 14,275 that are assigned to a child in Rooms, and we have 12,480 app downloads since July 23. Now to the demerger. We've held about 8 demerger community events between September 23rd and January 24th in combo with Edgecombe County Public Schools. We held 2 reassignment community events 1,500 of the students have been transferred to Edgecombe County Public Schools. 24 of students from Nash Central High School were grandfathered in, and there's 220 legacy students. And what's next? Unless y'all have any questions.
I have a question. First of all, I want to applaud you guys because the website is awesome. It's the friendliest website I've seen since I've been on the school board. I can click and find and see valuable information without going around my elbow and back. And I don't know if it would be the vector portal or what you're doing in this communication piece, but a lot of the training, has it included policy for some of our staff and teachers? Because that's an area we need to fill a gap in bad.
That's a great question. So there are several things we've got to bring up to what we could include with Vector, but it's been actually Caroline and I going out and teaming up like one-on-one. We have a scheduling block for principals to fill out. We'll go to the schools, we'll meet with the staff. But one thing that's very important for us is that because of policy of taking pictures of children on your cell phone, but you don't do that.
Right.
Or if you do that, you get it off your phone, and creating a plan of action, and also in accordance with Mr. McQueen's technology plans as well, making sure it's stored on the drive in a secure, safe area so we don't get in trouble for anything.
Right. My real focus is we've always had a problem seemingly with our staff, teachers and other people in school, knowing and understanding how to apply policy, or knowing this is a situation, this is what the action should be. And these are such great tools. I don't know if that could be somehow used to help with that educational piece for staff.
And you bring up a great point, communication. Staff know that they should be using this to communicate with the students. And this is very clearly outlined. And so that adheres to policy as well, and state policy and law.
So I'm gonna piggyback on what Dany was just talking about, because we have a tool that I don't think we're fully utilizing that to track who's doing what when it comes to policy. We should be able to set up a process in that tool that you can know when they set that process up, who did it, how long it take, and then send a notification out if they did not do it to their supervisor or to their leadership team, says, hey, Bill Sharp has not completed his bullying process, and I think that's what you're doing.
Yes,
Vector
that's
training.
Right, I said I
That
didn't know
is-
if that should be vector or it ties in so closely with the communication piece. And I think, Dr. Washington, not to cut you off, we have that system at the community college where, for example, web training or cybersecurity, every employee has to take, it takes 5 minutes. It's not long at all, but you have to complete it within a month.
You're right.
And it takes 5 minutes, and if you don't do it, I don't know what happens, because I always do mine. I'm scared not
And you
to
bring
do
up a
it.
great point, and Ms. Carr is the one who oversees the vector training. But by April 2026 or 2026, everybody who posts, or even what we're doing right now, has to be trained in ADA 2 compliance. And right now, we meet all of that with the logo and website, rooms, et cetera. But we all have to do that. And so Caroline and I have been spent this summer on getting certified in ADA 2 with the government. And so we're gonna have to put that into vector as well for staff.
So
But that's
Donovan should be able to go into that, and I know what you're going to, and says, we got 1,200 or 1,200 teachers. Out of those 1,200 teachers, we got 1,100 have completed all those courses. So she'll come back to Steve and says, hey, what's the status? I see 200 people that have not completed, what's going on with that? And I think that's what you need to
So
do.
just remember, most policy, if it came to teachers, and I'm speaking as an old principal, most of that's done in the beginning of the year faculty
Right.
meeting. Now, what most principals will do is they'll log in who signed in, and when they go over the policy, because don't worry, Jason gives us the policies that we need to make sure we discuss, especially Ms. Wallace has that, I call it the do's and don'ts of being a teacher. I know it's called something else, but most principals have a sign-in that we can make sure that those teachers have gone through their training. So, but there could be a place where we check in.
That's
And
data
the
collection.
reason I'm bringing it up is because even if that system's in place, we have a whole lot of lawsuits that go right directly back to, either they didn't know the policy or they didn't care. And either one of those we need to fix.
If you sign in, you can't say you didn't know the policy because you read it.
Right, that's my point too.
Agreed.
So would this be for the website training or any
Oh.
training in general?
This is just in train general.
Okay.
Because it was a very simple process that we do. It gives you a little scenario. So
Right.
would you do, if a child came to you and reported bullying, do you do A, B, C? You click one. And you, the one that matches the policy, they tell you if you got it right or not.
Right.
You don't get spanked on the hand, you just get redo it, or they tell you the answer.
You take that back to that instructor, says, hey, you read that policy, you signed off on it, you did not comply with what it said you did.
Right.
Let's talk through it. This is where Franklin comes in, this is where we start looking at gathering data for discipline.
Exactly. Thank you, you read that better than I did, Mr.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you. Great job.
I'm going to highlight just a moment some of our buildings in the facility plan. So before I even get started, kudos to the maintenance team. They have been unbelievable. And it's a great group. I wouldn't trade them for nothing. So today is the first day for teachers in the new facility at City High. And we have had lots of obstacles. I know it's exciting. But let me tell you the highlights. The teachers did start today. They got the occupancy last week. And I'll be honest, there was a team of people working on Friday, getting their, Thursday evening, they're loaded up, ready for the trucks to be pulling in Friday morning as soon as they said go. Furniture was in on Friday. They worked throughout the weekend. Ms. Rasco's been over there working with them and the teaching staff. They do have 5 classrooms that are located in Building D. And Dr. Ellis and I were able to see those a week or two ago, and they're already set up for the teachers. They were in place prior to the mobile unit having all the certifications in place for learning. So today I was there this morning. They're up and running. The teachers are putting some of the last touches in the building. We do have some minor details that the mobile company themselves are working through, but we do have the occupancy, so they have got furniture and stuff in place. So if you see now let me just go ahead and y'all can laugh about this. My pictures are not always great, but Caroline tries to make them real pretty for me. But this is the mobile unit. It is blue and it kind of has an early college look. The doors are blue. It is like a triple wide, and that is some of the office staff. It's really nice. So it's at the back of Nash Community College.
So that's temporary, right?
Temporary, we hope.
How long?
They're working on a grant. Nash Community College is working on a grant, so if everything goes well, we'll see. It'll be at least 2 years, Mr. Shaw.
One of the things we've been trying to do is get out of
Yes. Oh, yes, because it was all, we had gotten rid of the, 2, 3 at one point over there, and it was nice, pretty grass, but we've gone back to the drawing board.
Listen, we talk about high-tech technology and before it's removed.
Well, but
That's okay.
look at what's
We're
coming.
traveling.
Just look at what's coming. Be patient. Yep, it's coming. So with the next one, Rocky Mount Middle, if it had not been for this transition with City, we would not be where we are with Rocky Mount Middle. So what we did here is pick up from where the last update that you guys had, because we've been giving you monthly updates. So Dennis and I worked on this, the tennis courts. Surfacing the tennis courts, that's been a really big deal for that community. We're excited. They've not been used in many years, even when Rocky Mount High was there. And beside that, I'm going to get excited talking about this part, but beside that, the fencing that was there, that was gravel, and we really didn't know, that's going to be a parking lot for all their athletic facilities. So that's going to be a lot of good stuff coming, and I'll talk more about that as we go. The concession stand, if you notice, if you're coming on that one-way street on the left-hand side where the soccer field is, we have remodeled. This is maintenance when I say remodeled, and we are working in there to make that a concession stand and a storage building for football and for soccer. We have had a few setbacks, and I will talk about those a little later on because we're going to talk about the positives. One of our goals is to have football and soccer games on the same playing field. So a few setbacks, meaning that we're practicing and playing there, but we may play our games just so we're not rushed for the athletic piece, which is outside of school time. We're focusing on the students in the classroom, and for me to say that, I'm being truly serious, that we don't want to rush and not make it the best facility possible. We may be playing some of our games at Rocky Mount High. We're still working through some of that right now. Access control gates are complete and in working order. The hardware in the doors on the 8th grade wing at City High are installed. It looks very different, but it's very exciting to see that doorways opened up, and so all the halls do flow now, and everything's been updated, and rekeying all of that. Ceiling tile replaced in the auxiliary halls and replacement in the cafeteria. We added a lot of new seating. If you've ever been in there, you remember they had a separation for City High and the Rocky Mount Middle. Well, that'll be the 8th graders. We'll kind of have a special seating area. A lot of seating have been added. Our school nutrition team pulled together with Dr. Dupree and got that in place. Inspections, you'll see I put a little bit about inspections and power in place for the City High. And then the boys' locker room has been updated, and we have new lockers installed in the PE area. That'll be used for physical education as well. And the girls is in progress. Everything was ordered for that. And several of the old storage closets have been revitalized because we do have an extra health and physical education teacher because there's so much more based on their ADM. So we have updated some of the facilities there with the offices. The next one is Edwards Elementary. I can hardly wait for y'all to go on these tours.
I'm thinking the same thing.
And to watch it, every time you go to hear the staff, so I'm gonna talk about Edwards, and it's been a joy to work with this team of people over there, but the playground equipment is in place, and Dr. Ellis can say to you and several of our maintenance team, it was 100 plus. They were out there doing, breaking concrete and asphalt and getting it ready for the new playground equipment. So that's very exciting, and it looks amazing. They've sodded some of the area that used to be asphalt, and it is beautiful. The exterior name change has been completed. There's some new signage for the drop-off, for the new student drop-off. You'll see some of that, and new concrete has been poured. We've got DPI involved. They have given us certificates for everything we needed for this transition. Plumbing and painting, which was done in-house, is complete in the main building, and it looks fantastic. The VCT installation and abatement in the classrooms, because some of the classrooms were science and biology wings, they had to, you know how they have those big stands where they have the teachers stand up there, that had to be removed. Then they had to lay tile, and all that was done in-house. That was a very big undertaking at the last second. They did very well with that. We tried something a little different. We got the tile, instead of doing the carpet squares, large area rugs of carpet, which has worked out really good. And it works good for our kindergarten classrooms, and it was much more time efficient and much more feasible. Wood replacement, and this is going to be hard until you see it, and maybe you didn't notice before, but it wasn't the most attractive thing on Hammond Street, and now they've replaced some of that wood area with something in place of wood that will stand the test of time. And the whole building has been pressure washed, which it looks fantastic. So it's exciting. And the teachers were in there updating their classrooms, and it just brings life to the place. So it's pretty amazing. Cannot wait for you to see the entrance of that facility. We also.
Can I ask a question on Edwards?
Sure, I want to add something.
One of the things that you notice when you're leaving out of the main entrance going down into the cafeteria, the concrete's on that siding has been detriment for a long time. Are we doing anything to that?
Some of that's been removed. We're looking at doing a little bit more, but that is where you'll see some sod now. That looks very different. So we'll take that tour. I'll be standing right beside you. I can't wait for you to see that.
Okay.
I'm gonna stay on Edwards for 2 seconds. This is a little outside the box. I get excited. You'll have to cut me off. Boys and Girls Club, we met with them last week. Mr. Fields, myself, Dr. Wilson, and some of the area. And I talked with some of you board members about this when we went on our Demerger meeting at Edwards. And so they're going to be using some of the back hallway for where band and our health and physical education classrooms were. And it is going to be a very good marriage. We've already worked on a couple of things. They're going to be in the classrooms back there, and it's going to be the students at Edwards. They even have a drop-off and pick-up plan. It's very exciting, and the facility is going to be perfect for what they need.
We did some remodification back there.
So.
Okay, good.
And they're going to be doing some touch-ups too. You'll see. It's exciting. So Williford, that's a whole new world at Williford in the Early Learning Center. That is the new sign. The Media Center renovations are complete. When you enter there, the door that we talked about for the pre-K is badge access door. You will get to see that as well. The HVAC system, the parking lot area being paved, the service window for the pre-K office it speaks volumes when you have a team of people take tours. So our team of people, senior staff went, and a couple of things were, we might need a door here, or we might need a service window here for the little kids. It looks magnificent. So, when you put everybody thinking outside the box in one place to get a plan, it turned out really, really good. And Mr. Fields and his team has worked really well with this group. The card reader's been installed, the office dividers, so the faculty is very, very excited about this new space. They have office dividers, and they have made it their own. They have a lot of their training in PLCs in those areas, and it is amazing how each of their personalities come out in their individual spaces. And they have actually ordered LED sign that will look just like this, that will be in the place. It will go over what was already in place with Williford, the school sign. So we were able to add to that and still use the original sign. So that was very exciting. Did y'all have any questions for me about the facility space?
I do, because there's been a lot of conversation going on regarding Rocky Mount Middle, community engagement, because of the fields and all the great things that you guys are doing. The city actually partnered with that group. Have they had that discussion as far as working or allow use of those facilities, football field, tennis courts, which is really great, because I know we use the tennis courts on Sunset down there for a whole lot of activities. Now they got something right in their own backyard.
Yes, so there's not been a lot of conversations other than we have met with the Boys and Girls Club and have an after-school plan. So for facility and usage, I'll be real honest with you. Keep in mind that we have the alternative program as well there that uses our auxiliary gym. We have had some facility usage. They'll send it in, but we have a lot of teams. So they would have to go outside of our regular team times. And they'll just send that in to the school. Principal's been very willing to work with anyone about using those facilities. And of course, first dibs on any of those areas are going to be our surrounding schools themselves, because Rocky Mount Mill's the only one with an auxiliary gym. We're kind of at max with the fields right now, especially if we're going to do this revitalization. So what we had at Parker, when we had the football field and the soccer goals all in one, is the goal for Rocky Mount Middle. But because we've had some setbacks on timelines to get all these schools ready for school to start, so I will be honest with you, we've had to make some adjustments. So we're not ready for the full bulk of everything. And these tennis courts are not going to be at high school standards as far as the surface. We just can't afford it. So they will be used for facilities as best they can, and communities can use them at some point, but it won't be an everyday occurrence because we're going to let our students use it first. But always willing to have a conversation. Yes, sir. We'll move right into highlights.
Yeah, so we have we started late, so we got about 20 minutes, and you have to save a minute and 35 seconds for me that I need to show up. So, I'm watching these 30 seconds, so briefly come up here, and I told them, I wanted them to put everything, so you can blame it all on me, but I want it all up here. So I do want to make sure we go over some of the highlights, but we want to show a small video before we.
Good, sir.
Go right ahead.
Grants for the Student Support Services Department, we received the Stronger Connections grant. You see that was total was for $670,000 for 3 years, a total for 3 years. We also received the Barnhill Mental Health Services for Uninsured Students grant. That money goes towards helping our students who don't have insurance to receive mental health services. We also had written in our school safety grant that we received last year, which I'll talk about shortly, for about $40,000 to also go towards those students who did not have insurance for mental health services. Barnhill grant for the early college, high school peer group connections, student leadership retreat and support. That was a one-time award for about $4,000. As you can see there, the school safety grant, where for the 22-23 and the 23-24 school year, we received about $666,000 for elementary and middle school SROs. There was also, again, another $40,000 for uninsured students. And then there was about another $25,000 for school safety equipment. And there was the about $330,000 also in that grant for school safety equipment that we used to buy the locks for the elementary classrooms. So all of that came through our school safety grants. Partnered with various community partners to plan and participate in the first annual Days at the Mills presented by Barnhill Contracting Company for special needs community. We've done a lot of work with Barnhill this past year. They have a ton of resources. They're a good community partner, and we have certainly been trying to reach out to them. Representation on the North Carolina Governor's Office Work Group to review the current school Medicaid program and make recommendations for changes. Again, I think, is that Christy on that team? And we also have, we've had departmental presentations at the state and national conferences. We're at CASE, which is a special education conference. We also at we call it, used to be called the Superintendent's Leadership Conference. We had 2 groups presenting there on school safety and threat assessments. We've also had our lead nurse present at the state and national school nurses conferences.
That's awesome.
School safety, installment and use of the evolved weapon detection systems. The safe vault door locks are being installed at our elementary schools, and providing youth mental health first aid training to our school SROs. We also had our staff recognition, which was our EC director, Mrs. Grant. She received the State Distinguished Service Award recipient for North Carolina Council of Administrators of Special Education.
Howard, you're going to have to give us the clean version.
Yeah.
See on the slide, I
Good
know.
afternoon. Good afternoon. Highlights for the Village Males to Men Mentoring Program 23-24. Career fair, saw high attendance from mentees. We received positive feedback. In terms of college trips, the Village program successfully organized. Visits to both predominantly white institutions and HBCUs. These trips were well received and provided students with a first-hand look at different college environments. In terms of the Leadership Summit, it featured engaging workshops and received positive testimonials from participants. It focused on developing leadership skills and empowering our young men to take on leadership roles in their communities and the schools. In the end of the year ceremony, recognition ceremony had high attendance and was a significant event for the program. It celebrated the growth and achievements of our program in our community. Real quick, first semester last year, got the young men of East Carolina, as well as the career and college fair. We combined that to be a behind the scenes tour at Nash Community. Second semester, took the young men to Fayetteville State University and also NC Wesleyan. The Leadership Summit was held at Word Tabernacle. This year we'll tie it all together and bring everything back to Brown's Auditorium at Nash Central. And just real quick, each week on a weekly basis, our young men participate in a 45-minute to an hour mentoring session. Those mentoring sessions included discussions and activities aimed at developing leadership skills. The mentees were guided on how to set realistic and achievable goals. Career choices. They explored different professions, developed a greater understanding of the required qualifications, and learned about the steps to pursue their desired career path. Still need some more work on that, but for me the most important was choosing friends. The importance of them selecting friends who have made a positive influence was emphasized in those mentoring sessions. And just a reminder, we did receive $3,500 from the Dollar General Literacy Foundation. The funds were used to purchase 2 sets of books The other Westmore, that's the governor of Maryland, and also 101 things every young man or every boy should know. The mentees participated in the book study for the other Westmore. We want to get more engagement with that literacy piece for this coming. And then each mentee received a copy of the 101 things every boy should know to add to their personal library at the Leadership Summit. These are quick. 83 was our total mentee impact. We did lose a few young men, but that's okay. We're going to keep moving forward. Just a quick behind the scenes tour and a picture or image of our flyer. Thank you to Communications and Ms. Carolyn back there. Yes. And next slide. Real quick, just keep your eyes on this piece. Principals came together, and the theme for this year is infinite potential. Recognizing and maximizing the infinite potential within each individual. These are your dates. The 8 to 2, that's just a time frame. It's not really set for that time, but in between that time, Doc said, make sure we don't start at 8:30 in the morning. Okay. College trips, Elizabeth City State, NCA&T, NC State, UNC Chapel Hill. Those are the potential trips that will, actually yeah, we're gonna get it done. So I'm excited about that piece. The Leadership Summit dates and time already set at the end of the year, and real quick, we can go to the small. If you would please, when you get a chance, we need some more mentors. We need them quick. We need the right folk. If we found 3, we can find 30 more. So please help us with our recruitment process and strategy for these young men. The anticipated enrollment for this year is 140 plus male youth. We'll add 60 to the acre.
Quick question.
Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
If we find mentors, do we just tell them to call you, or where do they go online? Just call.
I'll leave them. Okay. We just send them my way.
All right.
So that is 12.
I'll be sending some.
Any other questions?
I noticed that North Carolina Central is not on this list.
I did
but
too.
I can't
Wait.
Oh, did you?
Okay. Because I sure looked at Bill and thought y'all playing favoritism.
So there you go. If you would please share this particular s'more with your community, please. Nice. Video there also. If you go down, scroll. It's just 4 questions that allow me to contact you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so in the essence of time, I'm just gonna briefly highlight a few things. Mr. Thompson and his CTE team are on fire. So 2 things that I wanna highlight is that they've been invited to present at the national conference in Oregon in the fall. Also, a teacher from Southern Nash High School was recognized and presented at the Leadership Summit this summer for their ag program. Other things that are going on, just that we want to highlight in A&A are, we completed the letters training. Michelle Jackson, a 1st grade teacher at Cooper's Elementary, was highlighted by State Superintendent Catherine Truitt. We received a $17,000 grant for a kindergarten transition summer program. We presented at the Ames Conference, and we received as a district almost $31 million in scholarships in our high schools this year.
There it is.
And I think that Mr. White said this, Dr. Farrow said it, things like this aren't a fluke. And they don't happen by happenstance. It's from strategic planning and intentionality. So with that being said, at your leisure, please spend more time looking at the accomplishments of the A&A team. But I am most proud of the last bullet on the last page. Link to the video. Go to 1 minute, 45 seconds.
You avoid
Just last week at the State Board of Education meeting, Nash County Public Schools, the only school district in the North Central region, was recognized by our state superintendent, Catherine Truitt. 1 hour, 45 seconds. Right.
Above benchmark percentages and growth in all grade levels and subgroups. So they had significant end of the year schools that district leaders were really like Nash County schools. So Nash County school students performed above the state or at above benchmark percentages and growth in all grade levels. They had significant growth from beginning of year to end of year in kindergarten through third grade, as well as their white, black, and Hispanic subgroups. Nash County schools have done an amazing job of getting into classrooms and looking at actually what's happening, giving targeted feedback, looking at how they can use their resources with fidelity. They've got incredible data protocols that all of their administration, coaches, teachers, that everyone is doing related to classroom needs. So they're just knocking it out of the park.
And you call that they. If I had some rhythm, I would dance. So, going back to process improvements, that's the way you change what learning looks like in a classroom. As district leaders, including Dr. Ellis and Dr. Farrow, we are in classrooms providing feedback to teachers and principals about how to get better. So so even though this showcases K-3, we're in pre-K classrooms up to high school. These are sustainable practices that will keep us on a list we shouldn't have ever been on. And I am so proud of the work that this phenomenal team back here does. So we could give them a round of applause. Thank you.
It's all about leadership.
Amen.
Leadership. That's right.
And can I just say, we oftentimes get focused on physical implications and all these other things, and then we minimize the importance of what's going on in the classroom, these teachers and the staff and all the people that make it happen. So I just want to say thank you to all of you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Great job.
Absolutely. Right.
Okay. 2 minutes, real quick. So just to piggyback off of everybody else, we know that we can't do the work without recruiting teachers. And we have to have an eye for teachers that have the skill set to come in and they're trainable and teachable to learn the programs that we have in place. So we have had a challenge in trying to find teachers here because we do know we just don't have a large group of people that are pursuing education. So we have had to recruit outside. And with that being said, we have done a great job of retaining those teachers, and those are visiting international faculties. At the beginning of the school year, we had 92. May, we had 82. We were able to retain 89% of them. The J1 visas, 24 of them, and that is a 5 years minimum. 19 of them were retained, but remember, after 5 years, they have to go back to their country for 2 years. And our goal is, if they made a difference or a big impact here, is to bring them back, and that's what we're focusing on. H-1B visas, this turns into a permanent placement for us. We recruited 68, and 63 of them have been retained. 63 of them were with us at the end of May, and 93% of them were retained. We recruited last year 51, 48 remain with us, 94% retained. In essence of time, these are just some highlights from HR perspective, but I do want to highlight the fact that we did not have to RIF any of our certified staff members. We were able to bring back 17 of the 23 TAs that were RIF, and they chose to either not return or accept employment elsewhere. Want to keep going? And I must say, Dr. McGahey is doing I'm going to use his word, phenomenal job with our BTs. And we have done a great job of growing them and retaining them, and the percentages are there. I know you're asking, probably thinking about the retention rates overall. They probably will not be great for us this year overall due to the demerger. However, that will come to us in October. Federal programs, we did get a $1.4 million 21st Century Community Learning Grant. It was on the southern end pre-COVID. It is back with us, and we will serve Bailey, Nashville, Middlesex, and Spring Hope, and it is free to all of participants. McKinney-Vento Summer Program offered to 62 of our students, and we did partner with the Boys and Girls Club. And they also provided 20 care kits for the identified McKinney-Vento seniors. Had a suitcase for them full of supplies that they needed to go off to college in.
So I could stand up here all day, but speaking of knocking it out of the park, as Dr. Truitt said, I've been, for the last few years, on the download talking a little bit of junk about how Melissa's not Dr. Cockrell. I said to Dr. Ellis, I've said to Melissa, we're kicking tail and taking names on the ball field. Y'all better get the academics going. So this year has been, step up the game a little bit. Anyway, I won't read you all of these. It's very exciting to show you that in the conference we're in, it's a 2A, 3A split for the Big East. Lots going on at Nash Central High School. Some major highlights. They received the High School Athletic Association Commissioner Cup, which was huge. We honored them at one of our board meetings. It shows you fourth round of playoffs for football, which was the first time. There's swimming, boys track, Moorhead Scholarship. It's big time. Northern Nash High School, you get my weekly updates about the field house. Exciting stuff happening over there, and some will be enjoyed by all of this football season. And then we go into Big East Conference Champions in many sports, their conference championship and the tournament championships, runner-ups, Wells Fargo, which is a really big deal. That's based on their overall wins for the entire school year. Cross-country regional runner-up, conference champions, tournament champions. And if you'll go next, Rocky Mount High School, Pam Gainey, a very, very good legacy award from the National High School Basketball Association. She was named a John Wooten Legacy Award winner. It shows you that we had, it was actually Coach Battle's daughter who got High School OT, High School Athletic Association Big East Conference champion. She is a tennis knockout. Swimming state champions, they had a Rocky Mount, the mayor actually appointed a date for Michael Gainey, first annual Michael Gainey Day, and that was awarded at a football game. That was very exciting. Picture on the top right in reference to winning the Scholar Athlete Team Award based on, not only was their swimming team outstanding, but they were in the top in the state with their academics. Southern Nash High School, had a great year as well. All-State Coaches Association for Girls Soccer, the Player of the Year for soccer, golf, softball, Conference Player of the Year in football, track, soccer, boys tennis, girls golf, conference champions, and then softball. They just had an outstanding year. And the pitcher for the softball team is actually a teacher of ours at Bailey Elementary, his daughter, and she is out of this world. So on to the next slide, the last highlight that I'll share with you, and many of you already know, is Southern Nash Middle School, and it kind of speaks for itself. Just some of the highlights there. Back in February, we received a $40 million grant. It was the largest in history in Nash County. That is also gonna be a 4 million on top of that from the county, so 44 million. It'll service about 1,100 students on the southern end. The projection is for this to be built in the next 3 years. I think that's gonna be talked about a little bit later in our board meeting. But the location is yet to be determined, and we're very excited about that being another new facility in our district. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hear you.
I know we don't have any
It's
time.
okay.
And finance has just a couple of highlights that I could put up here. Just want to point out that finance, our highlights are pretty silent. As long as nothing bad is going on, we're doing wonderful.
Amen. Good girl. Good job.
We closed the year out with positive numbers. That is always that's the bottom line. That's what we need to do. And then we have employees right now that are eager to learn. So we've had a couple of them graduate from the NCPS Academy with their getting different financial levels, helping us out to be even better in finance. And of course, we received the Certificate of Excellence for the audit held within this past fiscal year for year ending 6/30/23.
So I'll do a quick finish. I appreciate the board. This was a good year for us, in spite of a demerger and everything going on. Very easy to work with. I will now recognize, I'm not easy to work with. My senior staff knows how I am. But I believe in them, and it is so obvious when we start having high expectations and raising goals what happens. And I want to make sure I thank everyone in this audience tonight, because I know you have to live with me, and I just know how far we can go. And first, I didn't know Melissa didn't have any rhythm. I got to remember that one. But I just want to appreciate all of you, because these are some great numbers, and it is a great, Nash County Schools is a great place to be. So thank you very much.
That's bad.
Before we close, on behalf of the board, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone. Thank you for all of the highlights that we've discussed in this retreat. Also, thank you for your willingness to embrace the challenges that we've had this year. I know it's not easy, but again, with everybody's hard work, we can continue to progress. I believe we're at the cusp of greater things, and that is the board's expectation in the year to come. And so I just want to say thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the retreat.
Moved. Second.
Motion made by Board Member Sharp, seconded by Dr. Chavis. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Motion carried.